A mountain stands at the edge of the Jordan Valley. The wind is dry, the sky is white with mourning, and an old man 120 years old, eyes still clear, knees still strong, stands on the summit and looks east at a river he is not allowed to cross. His name is Moses. He has just finished a prayer. For 40 years he has led his people through a desert that should have taken 11 days. He has buried his sister. He has buried his brother. He has carried a generation of complaints up a mountain and down it and up it again. And now at the very end he has asked God for one thing. He has asked God to let him cross over. The Hebrew word he uses is avar. It means to pass through, to go across. It is the root of the word Hebrew itself, the ones who crossed over. To be a Hebrew is to cross. It is the whole point. And Moses, the most Hebrew who has ever lived, has just asked God to let him do the one thing his people are named for. And God has said no. He did not say, wait. He did not say, later. He did not say, think it through. He said, speak no more unto me of this matter. And in all the prayers recorded in the pages of Scripture, this is the one that should make you sit up, because here is what most people miss. God said no, not once, not by accident, not when he wasn't paying attention. He said no to his prophets. He said no to his kings. He said no to his apostles. He said no in a dark garden full of olive trees on a Thursday night in Jerusalem, with sweat mixed with blood, to his own son. There is a man somewhere in this video on his face in the dirt of that garden, alone, in the dark, praying the prayer every single person in this video is about to pray. And he is about to get the same answer they got. But we have 4 people to meet before we get to him. So hold the picture in your mind. Hold the garden. Hold the trees. Hold the man. We will come back to him. This is not a video about silence from heaven. This is not a video about the prayers God ignored. This is not a video about doubt. This is a video about the prayers God answered with the smallest, hardest, most loving word in any human language. The word no. And by the end of the next 25 minutes, you will see your own unanswered prayers. Every job you didn't get, every healing that didn't come, every relationship that ended, every phone call that came too late, sitting in the same family line as the prayers in this video. You are not outside this pattern. You are inside it. Let's go back to Moses on that mountain, because the prayer he just prayed is older than you think. 40 years earlier, he was a fugitive, in the back of the desert, tending sheep that did not belong to him. A bush burned. A voice spoke a name no one had spoken in 400 years. And the rest of his life cracked open like an egg. He went to Pharaoh. He watched a river turn to blood. He held a staff over a sea that split down the middle. He climbed a mountain in a cloud and came back with stone tablets carved by the finger of God. He fed 2 million people with bread that fell from the sky. He drank water out of rock. He spoke with God the way you speak with a friend across a kitchen table. And the Hebrew text actually says that, face to face. He did everything God asked of him, with one exception. In the wilderness of Zin, the people were dying of thirst. God told Moses, speak to the rock. Just speak to it. And Moses, in a hot moment in front of 2 million complaining people, struck the rock with his staff twice. The water came. The people drank. And God told Moses quietly that because of that one moment, he would not cross the Jordan. So now Moses is at the end, and he prays, he pleads, He uses the word avar, let me cross over. Let me see the good land. Let me put my feet in the river. And God, who has spoken with him face to face for 40 years, says the one sentence that should keep us all awake at night. Speak no more unto me of this matter. That is it. That is the whole answer. No softening. No long explanation. The conversation is over. But here is what most people miss. God did not abandon Moses on that mountain. God climbed it with him, Mount Nebo. Moses goes up alone, and the Lord shows him the land, every tribe's portion, every river, every olive grove, every city, the whole inheritance laid out at his feet like a wedding feast he can see, but never sit down to eat. And then in a verse so quiet you can almost miss it, Moses dies, and the Hebrew text says, God himself buried him. The creator of the universe knelt down in the dirt of Mount Nebo and buried his prophet with his own hands. The Jewish historian Josephus, writing about 100 years after Jesus, says that a cloud came down over Moses on that mountain, and he disappeared into a valley no one has ever found. No one knows where Moses is buried because God did not want anyone going there. Now ask yourself the real question. Would you trade 6 steps across a river for the kiss of God on the top of a mountain? Would you trade a piece of real estate for the only burial in human history performed by God's own hands? Moses asked for the land. God gave him a face-to-face death. Moses did not get a no. Moses got the deepest yes any prophet has ever received, hidden inside a single hard word. But it gets stranger, because the next person we meet got the same number, and he was holding his dying son in his arms when he heard it. A palace in Jerusalem, a small bedroom, a 2-week-old boy burning with fever. A king on the floor beside the bed, face down on the stones. His name is David ben Jesse, the shepherd, the poet, the king, the man after God's own heart, and the father of the child who is dying. You know the backstory. You have heard it before. A rooftop, a woman bathing, her husband sent to the front line of a battle to die, the cover-up, the wedding. And then, 9 months later, a baby born under the shadow of 2 graves, the grave of a man named Uriah, and the grave of a marriage that should never have existed. The prophet Nathan came to David and said, "The child shall surely die." And David did the only thing he knew how to do. He prayed. He went into his bedroom, took off his royal robes, lay on the bare floor, and he stayed there. He did not eat. He did not bathe. He did not sleep in his bed. For 7 days the king of Israel was on his face in the dirt, begging God for the life of his son. The servants kept watch. They tried to bring him food. He would not touch it. They tried to lift him from the floor. He would not move. And on the 7th day, the child died. The servants were terrified. They whispered to each other in the hallway. While the child was alive, he would not listen to us. How can we tell him the boy is dead? He may do something terrible to himself. David saw them whispering. He stood up. He washed his face. He changed his clothes. He went into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came home and asked for food, and he ate. The servants could not understand it. They came to him and said, "What is this thing that you have done? You fasted and wept while the child was alive, and now that he is dead, you eat." And David the king, who had spent 7 days on a stone floor, said the line that has been quoted at every Christian funeral for 3,000 years. While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept, but now he is dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. Stop and feel the weight of that. David is using the same word Moses used. I shall cross over. Ever. Moses asked to cross a river and was told no. David asked to keep his son alive and was told no. And then David realized slowly, in a moment of holy clarity that came up from the stone floor through his knees, that he was not the one being left behind. The child was already across. David is the one who still has to make the crossing. The child is already home. God did not say no to David's love. God did not say no to David's grief. God did not say no to David's son. God said no to the lie that the child was the one who was lost. The child was found. David was the one still in the wilderness. And one day, not yet, but one day David would do exactly what Moses did. He would cross over, and on the other side of that crossing there would be a small boy waiting. 2 prayers, 2 refusals, 2 crossings, and we are only getting started. 2 prayers, 2 refusals, 2 men who walked away holding something heavier and better than what they had asked for. If this is the first time anyone has shown you that God's no is not the opposite of God's love, that the no is actually one of the deepest shapes love can take, then hit subscribe before you scroll away. There is more here than you think. And while you are down there, tell me in the comments, which no from God in your own life are you still carrying? The job, the child, the marriage, the healing. Write it down. Sometimes naming it out loud is the first time it stops crushing you, because we are about to meet a prophet who asked God to kill him. And we are about to meet an apostle who asked 3 times for a piece of wood to be pulled out of his body. Neither of them got what they wanted. Both of them got something they did not yet know how to ask for. Pay attention to this. Elijah under the broom tree. Yesterday on a mountain called Carmel, the strongest prophet alive called down fire from heaven and watched it lick the water out of a stone trench. 450 prophets of Baal stood on one side. He stood on the other, alone. And when the fire fell, the people fell on their faces, and the prophets of Baal were dragged down to the brook Kishon and killed. It rained for the first time in 3.5 years, and the prophets, soaked, shaking, full of the power of God, ran ahead of the king's chariot, all the way back to the city. That was yesterday. Today, a single woman sends a single message. Her name is Jezebel. The message is 1 sentence long. By this time tomorrow, you are a dead man. And the strongest prophet alive, the man who outran horses, the man who shut up the sky, the man who called fire out of nothing, runs for his life. He runs south, past the border, down into the wilderness of Judah, past the city of Beersheba. And then, when even his servant cannot keep up with him, he goes 1 more day's walk south on his own, into the Negev, into the worst desert in the region. And he collapses under a bush. The Hebrew word for the bush is rotem. It is a real plant. It still grows in that desert today. Bedouins still cook with its roots. This is not a metaphor. This is a specific low, scraggly shrub that gives almost no shade. It is enough, for I am not better than my fathers. And here is what most people miss. God does not argue with him. God does not lecture him. God does not remind him of yesterday's miracles. God does not tell him to snap out of it. God sends an angel with food, a cake of bread baked on hot stones, a jar of water. The angel touches him. Arise and eat. Elijah eats, sleeps, wakes. The angel comes back. Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you. Read that sentence again, because if you have ever been so tired, you thought dying might be easier than continuing. This verse is for you. The journey is too great for you. God knows it. God is not angry about it. God is feeding you. 40 days the prophet walks. 40 days on the strength of 2 meals. He goes all the way to Mount Horeb, the same mountain Moses climbed. He finds a cave. He goes in. And God speaks. There is a wind that could split the mountain in half. The Lord is not in the wind. There is an earthquake that shakes the cave. The Lord is not in the earthquake. There is a fire. The Lord is not in the fire. And then after the fire, the Hebrew says, Kol damama daka, a sound of thin silence, a still small voice. And in the smallest possible whisper, in the quietest possible register, the Lord speaks to his prophet, who had asked him for death. God said no to the death. He gave bread and a walk and a whisper instead. Some of you right now have been asking God to let you out. You have been asking him to take you home early. You have been asking him for the kind of ending that you can survive. And God is sending you bread. He is sending you sleep. He is sending you somebody who shows up at your kitchen table with a meal you did not ask for, on a day you almost did not get out of bed. That is the angel. That is the cake on the coals. That is your no dressed up as mercy. And this is where it gets remarkable, because the next person we meet did not ask for death. He asked for healing, and he asked 3 times. Paul and the thorn. The man is Paul of Tarsus, Roman citizen, former Pharisee, apostle to the Gentiles, writer of more letters than any other figure in the New Testament, and by his own admission, the recipient of visions so intense that he was caught up to what he calls the third heaven, and he says he heard things no human being is allowed to repeat. And to keep him humble, God allowed something painful into his body. He calls it a thorn in the flesh. The Greek word he uses is skolops, and the English word thorn is way too soft. Skolops does not mean a splinter or a rose prick. It means a sharpened wooden stake, the same kind of stake that was used in execution. The same kind of spike a body could be impaled on. Paul does not have an irritation. Paul has a spike, driven by his own description into his flesh. Nobody knows exactly what it was. Some scholars guess malaria. Others guess an eye disease based on his letter to the Galatians, where he tells them they would have plucked out their own eyes and given them to him. Others say recurring persecution. The Bible never names it. What the Bible does name is the prayer. Paul says he begged the Lord 3 times to take it away. 3 times. Hold that number in your mind because we are about to see it one more time. In a garden, in the dark. And God said no, but the no came wrapped in one of the most quoted sentences in the entire Bible. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 1,000 years after Paul wrote that a man named Augustine sat down to answer a letter from a wealthy widow named Proba. She had asked him how to pray. Augustine had buried his mother. He had watched the Roman Empire fall apart around him. He had spent his whole adult life writing about a God he could not see. And he wrote her this sentence, and I want you to hear it slowly. God sometimes does not give us what we want in order to give us what we would rather have. Read it again. God sometimes does not give us what we want in order to give us what we would rather have. That is the entire theology of every no in this video. In 20 words written by a man who got it, Paul did not get the thorn pulled out. Paul got proof that God's power lives inside human weakness, not outside it. Every scar on your body, every limp in your walk, every spike still embedded in your life that you have begged God to remove 3 times. Those are not the places God has abandoned you. Those are the places God is doing His best work. There's one more thing, and it is the prayer we have been moving toward this entire video. And now we come to the garden. We come to the olive trees. We come to the slope on the east side of Jerusalem. We come finally to the man on his face in the dirt in the dark, alone with sweat mixed with blood. The man we have been carrying in the back of our minds for the last 20 minutes. His name is Yeshua of Nazareth. He is in a grove of olive trees called Gethsemane. The Hebrew is Gat Shemanim. It means the place of the olive press. It is the place where every harvest men crush olives between heavy stones until the oil runs out of them. He has chosen the location on purpose. He is the olive. The press is coming. It is Thursday night. He has eaten one last meal with 12 men. He has washed their feet. He has told them in plain language that one of them will betray him, and that another one of them will deny him 3 times before the rooster crows. 3 times. Hold that number. He brings 11 of them across the Kidron Valley to the garden. He leaves 8 at the gate. He brings Peter and James and John deeper into the trees. Then he goes a stone's throw further on his own. He falls. Luke, who was a physician, writes the next line so carefully it is easy to miss what he is telling you. He says the man's sweat became, as it were, great drops of blood falling down to the ground. The medical term for this is hematidrosis. Under extreme stress, the capillaries around the sweat glands can rupture, and blood mixes with sweat and comes through the skin. It is rare, it is real. And Luke, a Greek doctor, is telling you that the man in the garden was under a pressure no human body is designed to carry. And then he prays the prayer, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." He prays it. He gets up. He goes back to the 3. They are asleep. He prays it again. He goes back. They are still asleep. He prays it a 3rd time. 3 times. The same number as Paul. And we have to talk about the cup. The Greek word is poterion. In the English translation, it sounds like a simple object. A cup. A drink. Something hard. But poterion in the prophets does not mean an unpleasant moment. It means the cup of God's wrath. Isaiah talks about the cup of staggering. Jeremiah talks about the cup of fury. Every prophet who saw the day of judgment saw a cup being poured out on the world. And that is the cup the Son is holding. He is not asking the Father to let him skip a hard day. He is not asking the Father to let him avoid a Roman cross. He is asking the Father he has known face to face since before the foundation of the world, to spare him the full weight of the wrath of God for every sin ever committed by every human being who has ever lived. And the Father says no. And here is the part nobody tells you. That no, that single, terrible no in that garden on that Thursday night is the reason every other no in this video is mercy. It is the reason every no in your own life is mercy. Because if the Father had said yes to the Son in Gethsemane, if he had let the cup pass, he would have had to say no to you forever. The yes that saves you was hiding inside the no that crushed him. Every refused prayer in this video, Moses on the mountain, David on the floor, Elijah under the bush, Paul with the spike. Every one of them was rehearsing the shape of the prayer in this garden. They were the small notes. He is the cord they were building toward. And now think about your own life. The diagnosis that did not reverse. The marriage you fought for that ended anyway. The child you waited for who never came. The job that went to somebody else. The friend who stopped picking up the phone. The prayer you prayed sober at noon, and the prayer you prayed crying at 4 in the morning, with your forehead against the bathroom tile. Every one of those no's. Every one. They sit in the same family line as Moses on Nebo David on the stone floor, Elijah under the broom tree, Paul with the spike, and the man in the garden with blood in his sweat. You are not outside the pattern. You never were. You are inside it with the holiest names in Scripture, standing on either side of you, and the Son of God Himself standing at the front of the line. Your number is not abandonment. Your no is not punishment. Your no is not silence from heaven. Your no is the same word the Father said to His own Son, so that one day He could say yes to you. So, let's bring it home. 3 things to take with you when you close this video. The first one is factual. Every single no from God in the Bible was followed by something the person on their knees could not have asked for because they did not yet know it existed. Moses asked for 6 steps across a river. He got the kiss of God on a mountaintop and a burial performed by the hands of the Creator. David asked for the life of a son. He got the assurance that the child was already home, and a promise that one day he would cross over and find him there. Elijah asked for death. He got bread on the coals and a whisper that proved he was not alone. Paul asked for a spike to be pulled out of his body. He got a sentence about grace that has held up the church for 2,000 years, and the Son of God asked for the cup to pass. He got you. That is the first thing. The prayers God refuses are never the prayers God ignored. They are the prayers God answered with a deeper word than yes. The second one is personal. Somewhere in your life right now, there is a refused prayer that you are still carrying. Maybe it is old. Maybe it is fresh. Maybe you stopped praying it years ago because the silence felt louder than the asking. Hear this carefully. That no is not the end of the conversation with God. That no is the part of the conversation where He is saying something to you that He cannot say through a yes. Listen for the bread. Listen for the angel. Listen for the still small voice. They are already on the way. The third one, and this is the one I want you to sit with after the video ends. One day on the other side of the river, the same river, Moses stood looking at the same crossing. David spoke about the same. Jordan every faithful soul eventually wades into. One day, you are going to thank God on your knees for the no that hurt the worst, the one that broke you, the one you swore you would never forgive Him for. You are going to look at it from the other side, and you are going to see what He saw the whole time. And you are going to understand finally what He was protecting, what He was building, and what He was giving you instead. Because the loudest yes God ever spoke over your life was once disguised as a no. So tell me, which no from God in your own life are you still carrying? Write it in the comments. I read every one. And the next time God says no, remember the garden. Remember the cup. Remember the man on his face in the dirt who said no to his own escape so that the Father could say yes to yours. If this video gave you a new way to read your own life, hit subscribe. There is more here than you think, and I will see you in the next one.